Yo, yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to a brand new week, Christmas week, that is, and welcome to a brand new edition of what we call the Shifting the Culture podcast, where we talk about the different artists and different events that have impacted this culture we know and love as hip hop, as well as the ones that continue to do so to this very day. I am your host, the vegan you believe in, Conscious Kurt, in the flesh as always, and my co host needs no introduction, but he's going to give y'all one anyway. Break it down.
Yo, what up, world? This is King Khan live and direct. Getting ready for these holidays. Got Christmas coming up and also the new year. So I don't know about you, man, but this year has been kind of a tough year for me, myself, personally. And so, just looking forward to the new year and just hope that the new year brings many blessings and, a lot of great things. So what about you? What you looking forward to for the new year?
Well, what I'm looking forward to in the new year is accomplishing a lot of the goals that I've had set out ever since kind of this year started. Although I had a good year, although there was a lot of good things that came from it, there were certain things that I wanted to accomplish and I wanted to achieve that didn't really pan out that way. But the one thing I will say is that I became the man who will be able to handle having those things once I get them. Like this year was kind of like training in a sense, and I feel like what I gained from that training the last year is fucking some valuable shit and some shit not to take for granted.
Yeah, that's good. God sometimes like he doesn't give you things when you want it; he gives you things when you're ready. So, yeah, I kind of feel you. I feel like this year was a transition period for me. I kind of had to learn a lot about myself, and kind of went back to my roots to kind of remember who I was, man. Because when you have a kid and you all you do is work and you got a lot going on, you kind of lose yourself in a sense. And I feel like this year I kind of got back to who I was, and when you become a dad, like your life changes and you become a partner, like things change. So like this year was more about getting back to my roots, getting back to who I really am, because I kind of went off course because shit happens, life happens, but I just feel like this 2024, I'm excited. I feel like there's a lot of great things that are going to happen. And yeah, I just feel like this year was just a setup year for next year and for future years to come. I feel like a lot of great things are in the works. So sometimes, not every year can be good, but, sometimes you gotta recalibrate and, I would say get reorganized and then get ready for the next year and pick yourself back up.
I'm glad to hear that, man. But in what ways did you kind of reconnect with yourself? Like, in what ways do you feel like you did that?
Yeah, I felt like the main thing getting back into the hip hop game, I felt like the 50 years of hip hop kind of inspired me to get back into the game. I know but me and my crew, Tri City, back in the day, we used to drop mixtapes. We used to throw parties and events, and I kind of stopped doing it once I had my son, and I kind of felt like an emptiness, within me since then. So I kind of feel like this year kind of like woke me back up and kind of like got me back into the hip hop game, which I've been missing, and I feel like rejuvenated, and I'm ready to hit the ground running for 2024. Not only that, getting back into my son is actually, like I mentioned before, my son is playing ball now, for like AAU. So I kind of originally went to college for physical education to learn how to coach and whatnot. So but life and things happen, so I kind of got into marketing, which is cool, and I enjoy that, but I kind of want to get back into coaching and want to get back into the game of basketball as well. So I feel like this year was kind of redirecting me back into my passions, and I kind of feel great again. I feel reborn. I feel like, like I said, 2024 is going to be a great year for myself and also for my family. So I just feel like, yeah, I just need to get back to who I was and kind of do the things that made me happy, that I was missing, that I didn't realize meant a lot to me. And I kind of lost touch with that over the years.
Yeah, I'm glad you got that back, bro. I really am. I never knew you really felt that way, but yeah, I'm glad that you regained that even through everything that's happened the last few months. I know it's been rough, but yeah, I'm glad that there was a silver lining in all of that, and that you're starting to get back into your passions. I know I have with music, especially ever since we started doing this show. Yeah, like these last few months, ever since we started doing this show, like it's been the first time I've like really listened to albums consistently and like followed music consistently, like and like had that like more spark and passion for it. And I don't know how long. And not only just that, we're doing this podcast,
Yeah.
also with the verses I drop every week for my other podcast for the birds, the verses I drop promoting each episode. That's also been like a nice consistent way of exercising as far as my rapping goes, like because just doing one verse every week consistently, I haven't done that in I don't know how long. being able to do that again, being more consistent with my rapping again, has also been a good thing for me and something I'm definitely going to be taking more with me going into next year. And actually, by the time we record our next episode in a few weeks, I'll probably have some tracks ready for you guys because I will be in New York, New Jersey, and my best friends got their studio set up there. So I'm going to probably be recording some songs while I'm there and dropping some fire shit.
Yeah, that'll be dope, man. That's what it's about, man. Just following your dreams and your passions and not forgetting about that. I know life throws a bunch of curveballs at you and kind of takes you off track, but just always remember who you are and always to follow your passion because that's what's going to make you happy at the end of the day. Like we're only here for so long on this earth. It's been a lot of loss this year, so life is not life is not guaranteed, and things could be here today and gone tomorrow, or your health can change. So a lot of different things can happen with life. So I'm just trying to be grateful and try to appreciate everything that I can while I'm here, because like I said, tomorrow's not promised. So gotta enjoy it, today while you have it.
Yeah, that's all we have literally is right now. We don't have yesterday. We don't even have tomorrow. All we have is what's right in front of us. So we got to make the most out of what's right in front of us.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you have more of that attitude and more of that mentality, chances are you'll like what the outcome is a lot more.
Yeah, for real. So yeah, shouts out to everybody. Hope everybody has a great holiday and a happy new year. But yeah, let's get into it. Let's get into some of these
Actually,
topics.
before we get into the topics, it's funny. Tomorrow marks 2 years since you moved to Atlanta.
Yeah, I can't believe it's been 2 years. Been pretty fast.
Yeah, it's crazy. I can't believe it. I mean, you guys picked the worst freaking day to move, Christmas of all days, but still, like the fact that you guys made it 2 years already, it's crazy.
It's been kind of a learning experience. It's kind of tough like the first few months, but once we got our feet wet and got comfortable, to our new surroundings, yeah, it's been kind of great, man. I kind of love the life that I'm molding out here in Atlanta. So I have no complaints so far. This year was a little bit tough, but I feel like I said, next year is gonna be much better. So I'm gonna go with that.
Hope it is, but all we can do is just focus on making right now good, regardless of whether it's a new year or or new month or whatever it is. All you can focus on is making things right now. So like me, for instance, I kind of started like my New Year's resolutions and like what I wanted to do for the new year in December. So I don't have to
That's
like make
good.
a resolution or it's like say I'm gonna start January 7th. I kind of like already started this stuff like after Thanksgiving, in all honesty.
Yeah, that's good. You don't need to wait for the new year to start. You could start tomorrow, like, any day. As long as you're working on improving and getting better, then, you could start whenever. You don't need the turn of the calendar for you to start, being a new person or a better person. So much props to you for, realizing that and putting the work in. Are you going to put together a vision board or anything like that?
I will at some point. That's definitely something I can do.
Yeah, I'm gonna definitely start working on mine. I like to work on my vision board at least every year. Kind of helps me, put together some goals and kind of visualize like, where I'm going to and what I want to accomplish in the upcoming year. So, and a lot of the times when I put together the vision board, almost everything that I put on there comes true eventually. So, I would definitely encourage you and everybody else to put together a vision board for the new year because definitely help guide you and mold you in the right direction for accomplishing your goals.
Yeah, it sounds like a good idea. Actually, I'll look into that more.
Yeah, you should check mine out. I'm sure you've seen it when you've been to my crib. But yeah, I always I definitely keep it in my office and I always look at it every day and look at it, especially when times when you need inspiration, when you have like those rough patches, you have those down days. It's good to look at your goals and keep your eyes on the prize, so to speak.
Yeah, I think I'll do one. I'll definitely include a lot of like quotes from the Rocky movies with that shit too. Those things always help me
Well,
get through a lot of rough patches.
whatever helps you out, but definitely encourage you to put together something.
All right, definitely. But let's get into some of our topics today. As this past Tuesday, Scarface dropped a Tiny Desk concert, which was over 30 minutes long. And I have to say, from the parts of it I did watch, yo, everybody bodied it. I like performances like this that are just super mellow, super intimate. It just gives you a real appreciation for the art of music, things like this. From the lyrics, the rapping, the music in the background, everybody playing the different instruments. Yeah, like just something like this, it really gives you an appreciation for just live music and just music as a whole as an art form. And that's what I like about shit like that, especially from somebody who's been around as long as Scarface and was one of the best to ever do it. And shout out to Scarface and everybody who put this together because y'all fucking killed it. Fucking killed it.
Yeah, this was a dope Tiny Desk concert. I've loved these little this concert series. I know we watched the Juvenile a few months ago, which was pretty dope, and there's been other great artists who've done them. Mac Miller did it one before he passed away, and a bunch of other artists from different genres have took part in the Tiny Desk. And like you said, what I love about it is that it's low key. It's just the artists, background singers, and like some of the musicians that help put the songs together. So just a really dope experience. We even got to see Mike Dean, who's been a pioneer in the game behind the scenes, helping put some of the best songs together. And it was just so dope to see him, and just dope to see Scarface finally getting some of his much deserved flowers. He's one of the most underrated hip hop artists of all time, and people forget some of his contributions to the game. So it was great to see him in this light, and it was a great Christmas present just to see Scarface and perform some of his hits. So what did you think about? What else did you think about the Tiny Desk concert from Scarface and Scarface as a artist as a whole?
Scarface is somebody that, like you said, yes, is very underrated. He's somebody I never really appreciated enough up until a few years ago. But like once I really started to appreciate him and start to see the value that he brought and how and just overall how dope he is, I'm like, fuck, man, how the fuck did I not catch on to this sooner? Yeah, like he's really one of the godfathers of dirty South hip hop when you really think about it. Like even before Outkast, Scarface was out. This dude's been around over 30 years. He's dropped multiple classic albums, and he's one of the best and one of the most respected lyricists that's ever been in the game. Period. And not just from the South, but just the game as a whole. If anybody puts Scarface in their top 10, that's definitely a top 10 list worth taking seriously because that dude is that good. And I know one of my personal favorite projects of Scarface was actually the album The Fix from 2002. Bro, that album is incredible. That album is fucking incredible from the very first song to the last one. And My Block, as great as My Block is, especially the production for it, there's so many other bangers on that album, even besides that one, that if you've never listened to it before, you need to go check that shit out because it is definitely a part of hip hop history and a part of the reason why I love hip hop so much. I'll definitely stand on that shit.
Yeah, Scarface, like you say, he's underrated, a legend in the game. He even started. People forget that he started with the Ghetto Boys and had that song "Mind Playing Tricks on Me," which is one of the big I would say hip hop tracks back in that time. So it was definitely great to see him in that way, and just the way that he performs was pretty dope. I love his facial expressions while he was performing. It kind of made you feel, I don't know, it made you feel more connected to the track, and he's just a dope storyteller. And I love that song. Never seen a man cry until you seen a man die. I was one of the first Scarface songs that I actually heard back in the early 90s. And just to see him, 20, 30 years later, still, doing his thing and being respected. I saw Nas and his crew actually gave him some money recently for being one of the, pioneers in the game and never getting like the credit that he deserves. So it's just dope to see Scarface, a legend in his own right, to get the flowers that he deserves, and just to see him in a good, in a happy space. And hopefully people go back and listen to some of his classic albums and really appreciate what he's contributed to the game, not only to the South but also to hip hop as a whole.
Yeah, and also another great album from his was The Diary from back in '94. That album's also fucking dope. Yeah, crazy how '94 had so many great albums, and that album's another one that you can add to that list.
Yeah, so he definitely contributed a lot to the game. Even "Smile" with Tupac was a huge track. That song with Jay-Z and Beanie Siegel.
Guess Who's Back, the song you're talking about, I think. Yeah, Guess Who's Back was fucking fire. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's also
guess
from
who's
The
back.
Fix. He also had that song on The
Yeah,
Fix
yeah,
with
yeah.
Nas. Ooh.
Yeah, In Between Us. Yeah, that album was pretty dope. And like you said, My Block was on there. There's a couple other tracks that were on that album. And he also he was featured on the Jay-Z album, The Dynasty. This Can't Be Life. He was on that song as well. He was like kind of like signed to Rockefeller for a little bit, and he appeared on a bunch of songs together with them. So definitely, like I said, a legend in the game, and he's worked with countless artists. He worked with Tupac before he passed away on Smile. So just a lot of great contributions to the game.
Yeah, definitely. He was also on I Am with Nas. He was on that song Favor for Favor.
Yep, he was on that one too. So yeah, he's definitely done his thing.
Shout out to Scarface for that Tiny Desk concert. One of the legends in this game who's still going strong. I love to see it.
Yes, sir.
All right, in other news, Rolling Stone has officially declared Sexyy Red Skeeyee as the song of the year for 2023.
Wow, that's crazy.
That's an interesting pick.
Yeah, it's very
Very,
interesting.
very interesting.
Like the song, it is hella catchy. I'm not gonna lie. And Sexy Red has had probably the biggest, if not one of the biggest years in hip hop this year. Whether you like it or not, she definitely made a lot of noise this year. So I'm not surprised that it could be like a song of the year. But like I don't feel, doesn't Rolling Stones make, don't they talk about like rock and roll and pop music? They don't talk about why are they like getting credit for
It's all
pop.
music. It's all music. They talk about all music.
Yeah, I don't know. I just don't. I feel some type of way with Rolling Stone naming the hip hop song of the year. Like, but I don't know what other song would you say would be a competitor to that song though? Like, what other songs stood out to you?
I like that song with J. Cole, the All My I know he's only a feature on it, but that song All My Life is dope.
Yeah, I would expect that song to be up there because yeah, that song got a lot of airplay this year.
And I know this song is a little more recent, but that song from Drake's new album, that Hands on Your Knees shit, that song's dope too. Which Sexy Red
Oh
happens
yeah,
to be on also.
Sexy Red. Yeah, Sexy Red is on there too. So damn. No, so no matter where you put it, yeah, that song was a nice song as well.
Yeah,
It's been blowing up since it
it's a
came
fun
out.
party song. Yeah, it's a fun party song.
Yeah, wow. So like yeah, I can't even think of another song that would be on that level to really compete with Skeeyee because like I know it's catchy. People say that phrase like, randomly and yeah, it just I don't know. Yeah, I can like now that I think about it, like what other songs were better than that song this year? Like I don't really think there's anything that on that level. Maybe SZA because that song Snooze was been
Oh
yeah, that song
yeah.
Snooze.
Ooh, yeah, yeah. This is mad dope.
Yeah, so SZA had a really great year. I would probably say that she's probably one of the biggest artists this year, up there with Taylor Swift and Beyonce and whatnot as the biggest artists of this year. So, yeah, wow, I'm surprised that they actually named Ski as
She was also on that Drake song. Yeah, she was also
yeah
SZA was
SZA.
also on it too.
Yeah, so SZA, yeah, no matter yeah, those probably be the two biggest artists this year, SZA and Sexy Red. They probably had the biggest years.
And look, I'm happy that female rappers are getting more attention and like there's a lot more of them that are successful and all that. As far as the commercial ones go, the fucking content I cannot get down with. I am sick to death of it.
Yeah, I hear
And
you.
it goes back to like what Fab was saying a few weeks ago about like the state of female hip hop at least commercially is it just feels like all of them are the same, like all of them are clones of each other.
Yeah, I get that. But I did see Glorilla. She had like a response to Fab. Did you see that?
Yeah, I
She was
saw what
did
she
like a recent
said.
interview.
Yeah, I saw what she said. She's like saying, "Oh, what men rappers do isn't any better and all that jazz." And hey, we'll call out male rappers for that same dumb shit too.
Yeah,
She
she
says,
did have a point though. She did have a point. I'm not gonna lie, because she did say that well, males all they talk about is robbing and smashing women and killing and this and that. And then with the females, they don't do that kind of stuff. All they could talk about is their bodies and being sexy and doing this and that. So I kind of get both sides of it though. It does kind of make sense what Glorilla is saying, but at the same time, I do feel like maybe there's not all female artists who rap about the same content. Feel like there's other rappers who don't, like Rap City, and there's a bunch of other artists like Flo Milli, Doechii. There's other artists out there who have like a different subjects and topics that they speak on. But it feels like what the mainstream media and the radio, all they push is like this ratchet shit and this toxic music. So I don't feel like there's not enough of balance where they play the conscious shit and also the ratchet shit. They just play the ratchet shit and they just run with that. I don't know. That's kind of like how I feel. Like the outlets, they don't promote like the conscious shit enough.
definitely, it's gone this way for years, even with the male rappers, where they have like a certain agenda that they push, and that agenda is usually filled with negativity and toxic bullshit. And with the female rappers now, it seems like they're pushing it more with them. And And I'm not saying that there isn't a place for, like, that style of music and all that, but there just needs to be more of a balance. It can't be all serious all the time. It can't be all socially conscious all the time. And at the same time, it can't be all ratchet, stupid, ignorant bullshit all the time either. It needs to be a balance between the two where there's a place for everybody to have a platform and to push whatever they're trying to push, not just push one thing.
Yeah, like, exactly. Because like there's times where I want to be on my conscious shit. I want to learn something, or I want to hear a story in my music. And then there's times where I want to turn up and I want to listen to some ratchet shit, and I don't really care too much about lyrics. I just want to just care about having a good time and vibing. So there's a like you said, there's a place in the time for every type of music. Is I feel like the outlets that we have, they don't do a good enough job of showing that balance. They just only stick to like one style of female rap. They don't play the other style of music, which I don't know. Maybe it's not commercial enough. I don't know what the issue is, but I feel like, yes, like there needs to be more of a balance there. We need to have more of these conscious and these artists that are actually saying something with their music and have a message rather than the other way around. It should be more even.
Yeah, and it's not even just the fact that I don't like the music with a lot of them. A lot of them just come off like very obnoxious, very ignorant, and they encourage their fans also to act that way too. I remember like a few months ago, Glorilla put out this video, like, encouraging women to like slash their man's car and like do your ignorant, toxic shit like in your 20s while you're young. It's like, why would you even encourage anybody to do that shit, period? Who cares how young they are? Yeah, like just that kind of vibe. I get a lot from the current female rappers, the commercial ones. Yeah, I don't like that shit. It's not just the music that I don't like. It's just their behavior and kind of like the behavior that they push on other people that I can't fuck with either.
I think part of it is that I feel like the generation before, they don't really counsel like the younger generation, or they don't really fuck with the younger generation like how it was before. How like the Queen Latifahs, the MC Lights, they embraced like the newer generation. And I feel like the Nicki Minaj's, they don't really embrace like the new wave of female rappers, and I don't feel like they have that guidance like how the young older, like the '90s generation had. So I feel like that's a part of it too. I feel like where are all these conscious rappers, from like the early '90s and 2000s? They're not around. Like Lauryn Hill, she disappeared, and she wasn't there to kind of guide some of these newer artists. So then all you have is like these City Girls or Nicki Minaj, these type of artists, and then this is what Megan Thee Stallion, these type of artists, and this is what the females gravitate to. They don't have anybody who was there to kind of like show them like, yo, yeah, you can do this, but you can also do this type of music also. So I kind of feel like that plays a role in it as well.
Yeah, and I watched that show, Rap Shit, that Issa Rae show, and it's kind of all about the female hip hop scene. And yeah, you see a lot of this shit on there with like, the type of music they do and only kind of promotion they'll get. It's clear that they only want to push like a certain style when it comes to the mainstream commercial female rappers. And yeah, that show was no exception. Like you'll learn a lot of shit, like especially for females in hip hop from that show. And yeah, maybe they don't have that guidance. And I think heard something that like, Queen Latifah and some of the other like female rappers from back in the day like stomped on a picture of Nicki Minaj once.
Oh wow, I never heard about that. Yeah, I know she's always had beef with Little Kim. She never really, never really like paid homage to her, even though she's like very similar in a lot of ways to how she was.
Seems like she's had beef with a lot of people.
Yeah, and then like you would think like her, Nicki Minaj, like having the breaking the record for the most number one albums by hip hop female artists, you would think that she would be embracing the other generation, but I guess not. It's kind of weird, man.
Yeah, but I guess with her, since she wants to hold on to that number one spot, and she's just like, and she's so set on keeping it that she doesn't want to give a leg up to anyone else.
Yeah, I don't think it's just her own, her herself. It's not only on her responsibility, but yeah, like I feel like that generation of artists, like a lot of them, they just became moms and went around, went about and did their own thing. Like Foxy Brown was a big artist, and I know she had some health issues and kind of disappeared for a while. So that's I can understand. Eve had a baby and was doing movies and this and that.
Even Eve said the same thing that Fab did. Even Eve was on that same shit that like, yo, all these female rappers sound the same and all they talk about is the same shit. Yeah, between like Sexyy Red and Ice Spice and all these girls, I honestly can't tell who's who.
Yeah, let's hopefully for the next year we have some more of a balance. We have more conscious artists, or at least artists with a message. I don't know. We just need some more positive music in the new year from females, especially.
and just be dope. That's the main thing I just ask for, regardless of what you talk about or whatever. Just be dope and respect the art form. Respect the art form.
Yeah, but some people they don't respect it as an art form. They respect it as a way to make money, which I get it. You know, you gotta do what you gotta do to make money, but at the same time, you can't call yourself like a hip hop artist and somebody who's for the culture if you're not respecting it. So that's kind of
Exactly.
how I see it.
Exactly. Didn't Sexy Red get into it with that girl from the Breakfast Club last week? I saw they had like a kind of a back and forth.
Yeah, she did. Supposedly, Just Hilarious, who's a comedian, said something about her, and I don't know. She kind of got upset about that, and was kind of cold. But towards the end of the interview, they ended up like acting,
Squashing
kind
it,
of cool,
yeah.
kind of cool. They're kind of cool with each other. So, but Sexy Red seemed like a down to earth, pretty chill person. Like I don't feel like she's like that. Some people have a persona. I don't think that she's. I think that she's really chill, and like she likes to be with her family, and I don't feel like she's kind of like everything that she's portrayed to be.
I don't know enough about her personally, but the only thing I said is that just her music I'm not a fan of. I wouldn't wish for her to go broke or like not have a good career or whatever, but just her music is not my cup of tea. And I'm sure other people like it. It was picked song of the year for a reason. It's just not the type of music I can get with like that. That's just me.
I get it.
All right, but let's get into some classic anniversaries as we have a lot of really good ones to get into this week. As this past Friday marked the 25-year anniversary of DMX's second album, Flesh of My Flesh, Blood of My Blood. From releasing this album, DMX will become the first artist to release two number one albums in the same calendar year, that being 1998. And this further solidified DMX's run at the top of hip hop during that period and pretty much established him as the number one dude in the game. And a title that he would hold pretty much for the next 2 years. King Khan, what are your early memories of this album when it came out back in 1998? And what did you think of it compared to the first album, It's Dark and Hell is Hot?
Um, the Dark and Hell's High is definitely the better album,
I
but this
agree.
one
I
is
agree.
definitely this one is a classic in its own right. Though is it's a little bit different, but what the one thing about this artist, I mean about this album, is that I was kind of surprised that this album dropped so soon after such a huge album. Like, I don't feel like It's Dark and Hell is Hot had enough time to actually breathe and for people to really appreciate that album. It was like one of the best albums in that time and of the '90s. So I don't feel like it got the proper praise that it should have because this album came out so soon after. I don't. Do you know this backstory? Why DMX dropped an album within the same like 7 months after he dropped his debut album? I don't know if he was sitting on a lot of music or but why did he drop an album like so soon after such a successful album at that?
I guess maybe you just wanted to stay busy.
Well, I don't. This was like the first thing 'cause I don't remember Jay-Z, Nas, or Biggie, or any other big artist, Tupac dropping multiple albums within the same calendar year.
Well, no, technically, Pac had All Eyes on Me and Machiavelli in the same year, '96.
But Machiavelli was different though. I was like when he was about to pass. Like I don't know that album was kind of
It
weird
was the
though.
same year. It was the same fucking year, though. Regardless, it was the same year.
What All Eyes on Me came out '96.
All Eyes on Me and Machiavelli both came out in '96.
'96,
Yes,
yeah. All right.
Machiavelli came out like 2 months after Pac died.
So maybe DMX was trying to kind of do, something similar, trying to follow in Tupac's footsteps. I don't know. That was the only thing that I was kind of weird about this album. Is like, why are you dropping two albums within the same year, especially when the first one was so successful? Well, I just didn't get it. But this album definitely had a lot of bangers on there as well, and it definitely, like you said, solidified DMX. He was at. There's no question that he was the hottest artist in 1998. He's bigger than Jay-Z, bigger than Nas, and bigger whoever the fuck else you want to say pull out from that year. DMX was the biggest hip hop artist at that time, hands down. No debate about that. He was on fire on that year, and like this album, my one of my favorite tracks was that song with Drag On. Ain't no thugs got love for me. That song was pretty good. Another one that stood out to me was that used to be my dog. You was in my left titty. That song,
Yeah.
I used to love that song with Styles and Jada on that track. So yeah, this is definitely a great album. Also liked Slippin', which was a dope deep track by DMX which showed you like he had the hardcore side, he had like the other side of him as well. So that's what this kind of epitomized some of the great things about DMX. What was some of your favorite tracks on this album?
Where I'm Coming From, the song with Mary J. Blige. That song's
Oh yeah, that
fucking
was going. That
fire.
was going.
Also, The Heat Is On.
Okay.
Ready to Meet Him. Ready to Meet Him is probably one of his best God tracks. Like, because he had the God tracks on pretty much all of his albums. I would have to say probably Ready to Meet Him is the best God track he did. Shit gives you
Yeah.
goosebumps.
Yeah, I like how he used to do those at like those prayers like towards the end of
Yeah.
his album. So it show you like a different different side of him. There was also Blackout was on here,
Bring
which
Your Whole
that was the
Crew.
posse track.
Bring Your Whole Crew
Bring
is
It Home.
also dope. I just love
It's
when a
all
nigga.
good.
Ooh, it's all good. It's
That's
all
good.
good. It's all right. Fuck all day. Fuck all night. All my bitches, cause wherever I go, y'all my bitches.
Yeah.
Yeah, shit's dope. The song Flesh of My Flesh was also good.
Keep Your Shit the Hardest was another one that I was feeling with. But yeah, there was a lot of great tracks on here, man.
Ain't no
Like I
way. Ain't no way.
Ain't No Way. And I feel like another one thing that hurt the album, I feel like, was the cover. I feel like it wasn't like I feel
Ooh.
like it's kind of controversial. And if you look at the cover, it's like, damn, what the fuck is going on? Like it looks like some devil worship type shit. So I could see why some people might have like stayed away from this album or not, kind of like turned off by the album. But nonetheless, it still was a great, dope album, and it just put a stamp on DMX's legacy and also as being the biggest artist and the hottest artist in 1998, hands down.
Yeah, that album cover is crazy. I'll never forget the first time I saw it. That shit tripped me out.
It's kind of weird.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna lie. This album is kind of a prime example of, in a way, how like album covers have kind of become a lost art.
Yeah, you're right about that. Yeah, I feel like album covers they don't put as much into it as they used to, and like when you see this album cover like in a store, like it makes you like look at it, like let me take a second look at it, like damn, what the fuck is going on?
Fuck.
Maybe I should check this shit out. Like so, and I feel like some of the covers today they don't really have the same shock value, or they don't make you like I don't know remember the album as much as that. Yeah,
Look twice. They don't make you look twice the way they
yeah.
did before.
But yeah, definitely, certified classic all around, by DMX, and there's not enough good things to say about this album and DMX as a whole.
Yeah, '98 is considered one of the best years for hip hop albums, and in that calendar year, DMX had two of them.
Yeah,
Fuck, he had two of them. And yeah, it's not better than It's Dark and Hell is Hot, but it's close.
yeah, it was
It's
really good. If he
close.
dropped this any other year, I would probably say this is my second favorite DMX album. I would say probably of course, it's Dark and Hell is Hot is first, and then this one,
Makes
like I said, but
sense.
I keep going back to it, he just released it too soon after the first one. So I feel like the two albums didn't really get a chance to shine individually.
Yeah, maybe he could have released Flesh of My Flesh, like maybe in like some time in '99, and then he could have released, and then there was X, like maybe in 2000 ish. Yeah, like maybe some
Yeah,
part of 2000. Yeah, but with DMX, that's kind of how his albums went. Like each album kind of got worse. Like the first album's great, the second album's not as good, but it's still great regardless. The third album is a step down from the first two, but I still enjoy it. And then from the fourth album down, it's just kind of a
yeah.
decline.
You had some spots here and there that were dope. Like I remember that album with the dog on it. What was it called? Grand Champ.
Yeah, Grand Champ with the Pitbull on the cover. Yeah,
Yeah,
that was a
yeah.
good
He had
one.
some dope tracks on there. He had Styles P, 50 Cent on there. He had some joints on that album, from what I
Yeah, he
remember.
did, and even Great Depression had a couple good tracks too. Great Depression had Who We Be. It had the Damien Part Three, and I'm not gonna lie, I love Flesh of My Flesh, but I'll say out of all the Damien tracks he did, the one on Flesh of My Flesh was the weakest one.
The weakest. Yeah, I think the first one had the best Damien one when he first introduced that.
The one on Great Depression's great too. You shouldn't sleep on that one either. The first one's great, obviously, but the third Damien on Great Depression is some fucking classic DMX. Like I know he wasn't as good in those later years, but that song's a fucking gem.
Yeah, I gotta go back and check that out.
Yeah, yeah, I'll send it to you. But it is funny that on that track, actually on that second Damien track on Flesh of My Flesh, he had fucking Marilyn Manson on it.
Oh yeah, I forgot that. That was a weird collaboration. But Marilyn Manson was like a pretty big artist at that time as well. And if you look at the cover, if you look at the cover and you put two and two together, kind of like they were like kind of like on the same type of vibe, or same type of theme at that time. They were on that that dark,
Goth,
devilish
goth shit.
type of vibe. So gothic shit. So that was the type of vibe that they were both on at around that time.
Yeah, definitely. And shout out to DMX. May he rest in peace for this classic piece of work. And yeah, there will never be another one like him. And no one will ever have another run like the one he had back in 98, 99. No one.
Did you ever see him live?
I saw him live twice. I saw him once at a club in Florida, that Club Passions at the Hard Rock. It was brief, but
Oh
whatever,
yeah.
he was still there. And then I saw him at the Bad Boy reunion concert. He made a cameo.
Oh, okay. I got to see him. I got to see him once. At what was it? I think it was a Marley Fest or 9 Mile, one of them things. He was one of the headliners, and yeah, it was a few years before he passed, and he put on a great show. Even though he was still battling some demons, you could tell like it wasn't the same DMX that we fell in love with like in '98, but it was still dope to see him perform some of those tracks, and the crowd still went wild when he performed some of those dope tracks, and still got that video of that performance. Maybe I'll post it on our Instagram for people to check out. But yeah, definitely a legend, gone too soon, but he definitely left a lot of great music for us to keep his legacy alive.
Also, a memorable performance from him is the performance he had at Woodstock 99. That shit was incredible.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it was like a sea of motherfuckers in that crowd. That was crazy.
Did you ever watch a documentary about that festival?
I think I watched it. Yeah, I think I watched part of it.
Yeah, that whole thing was a shit show. I remember like when it happened back then. I remember like back in 99 when they were promoting it and everything, because on MTV they were promoting it and all that jazz, and it was kind of like in upstate New York. And yeah, I didn't realize that it was such a shit show and like there was like so much controversy surrounding it. But then when I watched that documentary, I was like, what the fuck? Yo, I would not want to even go near that music festival, even if those great acts were there. That shit does not look like it's even close to worth it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I saw. Yeah, I remember seeing a documentary. Now you think about it, and yeah, there was a lot going on. So
I mean, they had great talent there. Don't get me wrong; they had great talent. I mean, obviously DMX. They had James Brown there. They had Limp Bizkit, who they actually blamed for like the festival getting out of hand, for like the people like really losing their shit. They tried to blame Limp
yeah,
Bizkit
they
for it.
they incited riots and shit. It got made people go crazy. Kind of like 3 6
Bro,
Mafia. How they
but you have,
how
but,
they
but you have to understand that's what they fucking came to see. That Limp Bizkit, their style of music, that's what the fuck they were expecting from them. What the fuck do you expect Limp Bizkit to do? Not be
yeah.
Limp Bizkit?
Yeah, exactly. And then they were probably the hottest band at that time as well. So yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah, but the one fucked up thing was when Rosie Perez came out and the crowd started chanting "Show your tits, show your tits."
That's funny, man. But I don't want to get canceled, but that was funny.
Yeah,
Different
fucking
times, yo. Different times, yo.
much,
Wild times.
much different times. Yeah, 1990. If I could describe the year 1999 just for pop culture as a whole in one phrase, that phrase would be out of control. Out of
Toxic.
fucking control. Yes.
Fucking toxic.
It was fun. It was fun. Don't get me wrong, but that shit was fucking. But a lot of shit happened back then that has not aged well since. Let's put it at that.
Yeah. A lot of stuff can't fly today.
Hell to the no. But something that has aged well is our next anniversary we're going to get into right now. Is this past week marked the 22-year anniversary of Nas's classic album, Stillmatic, which featured the track Ether, which was a response to Jay-Z's takeover that he performed at Summer Jam earlier that year. And with kind of the run Nas had been having the last few years where he wasn't as popular, he had a lot to prove going into this album. And with the track Ether and also with this album as a whole, he more than proved his point and more than proved the fact that he was one of the best in the game, and for people not to ever forget it. Because I would say this is his comeback album, because of the last two kind of being a little weak. This was definitely his comeback album, and I have to say arguably his best album ever, in my opinion.
That's debatable. I would say definitely redeemed Nas's career, and I feel like this is the most important album of his career because if he never came back with Ether, and if he never came back with a classic album like this, I feel like Jay-Z would have, surpassed him by a long shot, and I don't feel like Nas would have been able to recover from that. And it just shows you the legend that Nas is, and just shows you what he's built, what he's made out of, and it shows you how much of a great artist that he was, and how he's one of the best to ever do it. Because not many artists could take a damaging blow like how Nas took a blow from Jay-Z at Summer Jam and come back from that. Not only did he come back, he came back with one of the best diss tracks of ever, other than like Pac's Hit 'Em Up. and he came back with this album, which is, like you said, could be his best album. Depending on who you ask. Some people say Illmatic, some people say It Was Written, some people say this one. So it's definitely up there. I would say it has to be one top three Nas albums of all time. You can change out those three albums that I just mentioned, but yeah, this one definitely was one of my favorite albums. Yeah, and then Nas needed to drop this album because I'm kind of surprised of what would happen if he never dropped this album and then it didn't hit like how it hit. Like what would happen to Nas's career if this didn't come out and wasn't a successful album. So, what did you think about it as well? And what are some of the tracks that stood out to you on this album?
From the first time I heard it, I just said to myself, this is why I love not just hip hop, but this is why I love music. And I'll be honest, like around the time this album came out, I wasn't like, as big of a hip hop head as I would become later. And like, I didn't really appreciate lyrics enough as I would later. But just from hearing this album, I just said to myself, like, this is real hip hop. This is some shit I can listen to over and over and over again. And that's exactly what I pretty much did. Like for like a month straight, I was only listening to this album, Stillmatic. Ether, for one, like you said, one of the best diss tracks ever. He fucking let Jay-Z have it. I think Jay-Z probably lost a lot of fans after that song came out, to be honest.
Yeah, well, especially after Super Ugly. Yeah, it caused him to come out with Super Ugly, which didn't make Jay Z look too good.
Yeah, I kind of felt at the time I kind of had to pick sides between the two, so I picked Nas's side naturally, and I felt like I couldn't like Jay-Z. Yeah, that song Ether was a big part of it. That song Ether definitely made me look at Jay-Z differently. But I've gotten past that since then. But yeah, he fucking bodied the shit out of Jay-Z. I don't think anyone's ever dissed Jay-Z harder than Nas did. I can't think of anybody else who ever did.
No, I don't think he's been. No, I don't think anybody's come this close. Not even.
No. I don't know what happened with that battle between DMX and Jay-Z that apparently there's no footage of. Maybe DMX got him harder in that one. But as far as shit that's been released, no one is eating Jay-Z alive the way Nas did on Ether.
Yeah, definitely.
Rockefeller Records getting gunned up and clapped quick. How much of Biggie's rhymes is going to come out your fat lip? Wanted to be on last every one of my classics. Bro.
Queens niggas run you niggas. Ask Russell Simmons. Yo, there's so many lines on that song, man. But that's not even my favorite song. Like honestly,
no, it's not mine either.
That's not mine either. That's not even in my top 5 favorite songs on that album. That's how great that album is, yo.
Yeah, One Mic goes without saying. One Mic is one of the most incredible performances he's ever had, period.
Yeah, that song, the way he changes the inflections, how he's going kind of soft, and then he like gets more aggressive, and then he gets
goes
quiet
faster.
Again. Like, yeah, it's just a dope creative song. One of the most creative hip hop songs ever is on this album, and that's Rewind. For him to tell a story backwards, and the shit made sense, and it was still a hot track. This is why I love Nas so much, is because of how creative he was. You could like whatever artist you like, but I feel like Nas was never really scared to take chances and to take risks. I feel like he was way more creative. He didn't use other people's rhymes in his rhymes, and these are the type of songs like this song, I Gave You Power. These are the type of songs that help separate Nas from a lot of everybody else, who's been in this game. And Rewind was it's like a movie. Like if you just listen to that song and how he talks about him with a girl and how he reverses him giving head and how conversations and how he says it backwards.
Yeah, that one line where he says, "Shoot, please don't." I'm like, bro, what the fuck? And you're like following every single last thing he says, and he's telling all of it backwards. You're like, how the fuck is he pulling this off?
Yo, you got to listen to that song at least 5 times to catch everything, at least. But that was just a dope track. Even the intro, from the intro alone, "Blood of a Slave, Heart of a King." You knew Nas wasn't fucking around with this album once you heard that intro. That's one of the best hip hop intros ever, and just a lot of another dope tracks on there. I'll let you get some of your tracks in before I get in a couple of more of mine. But yeah, I'll give you the floor so you can talk a little bit more about some of these standout tracks.
One track that's always been my jam from the very first time I heard it, "The Flyest."
Oh yeah,
the Flyest is like that song I play like when I'm getting out of the shower and like getting ready and getting dressed to go out. Like that's the type of shit that I'm on when I hear "The Flyest." Just having AZ on that track with him, especially considering that AZ was also on Illmatic, it was just a beautiful thing, bro. Yeah, they both body it. They both complement each other well. It's just such a fun track, such a cool track, such a mellow track. And yeah, every time I hear that beat, I just get into another zone. Every time I know I'm about to hear that song, I'm like, bro, it's gonna be a good day. That's how I feel about the Flies.
Yeah, it's dope. Definitely a dope track and a full circle moment for Nas and AZ. Definitely, and they've
Actually,
collaborated multiple times. That wasn't like the only time after Illmatic
actually, speaking of
they
which,
got
I watched
together.
some of AZ's Drink Champs the other night.
Oh, that's pretty dope. I watched some of it too. Just
Yeah, I watched like half of it. It was funny hearing that he didn't like the song Sugar Hill.
yeah, he said he didn't like that, but that's what happens sometimes. The songs that you don't like end up being the biggest songs of your career.
Yeah, good thing he went along with it. And yeah, like learning about some of the stuff with the firm was kind of interesting too. I'd probably need like a week to recover from the hangover I would get if I were ever on Drink Champs, just from the way they go hard.
Oh yeah, they definitely go in.
They don't play. But all right, that's another subject for another time. But other than the Flies, Rule is fucking incredible.
Yeah, that's another thing I liked about this album because at this time, this is when the 9/11 had just. This is right after 9/11, so New York and also the country was in a whirlwind. There was a lot going on with President Bush, 9/11, and I like how Nas also touched on a lot of political shit that was going on, like on his album as well. So that's another thing that made this album a classic and just brings you back to that time about how the country was around, right after 9/11, how the country was, was in a whirlwind and didn't know what was going on with the whole Afghanistan shit and Al Qaeda and all that. So it was dope to hear like an artist actually not shy away from the political shit that was going on at that time and addressed it and called out our president and called out the government on a lot of these songs. So that was another dope thing to hear.
Yeah, Nas kind of was one of the first rappers to like really call out Bush and shit on Bush. I mean, it would become popular like in the years to follow, but yeah, I think he was one of the first ones to really call him out.
Yeah, definitely. So that was dope to hear that.
Yeah, I like Rule. A big part of why I like Rule is because it samples that song "Everybody Wants to Rule the World" from the '80s, that Tears for Fears song.
Oh yeah,
Samples that really
yeah,
well.
dope
A
sample.
Marie was also on the hook too. I don't know if you remember, but A Marie was on the hook.
Yeah, yeah, I remember that. Yeah, she was dope. She did a thing on that song too.
Yeah, Second Childhood. Second Childhood's also good.
Yeah, funny story with that song. I never really liked it. Like when I first heard the album, I never really like that would be one of the tracks that I might skip or might not listen to all the time. But then as I got older, I kind of like went back. Like I was listening to the album, like haven't heard it for a while. Then I listened to that track, and I kind of fell in love with that track. I'm like, damn, I can't believe I slept on this fucking song. Like as a DJ premier produced track, and Nas just going in on the bars. So yeah, definitely that's one of the underrated tracks on that album, Second Childhood.
Yeah, he's just like he's really talking about something. He's like talking about like dudes who are like immature, who like aren't doing shit with their lives, and yeah, basically their second childhood. It's kind of like the song version of what the movie Baby Boy was, if you remember Baby Boy.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's kind of the vibe I got from it. But yeah, he bodies it. Also, the bridge is over.
yeah, Destroy and Rebuild. Yeah, he was going in on everybody.
Ooh.
Everybody. Like, yeah, I felt like Nas was like, yo, he felt like he was by himself against Jay-Z and Rockefeller because he came out with a song, H the Homo or something like that, where he was on that Eric B and Rakim beat. I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, I
Yeah,
remember
yeah,
that
he
one.
came
Yeah, I
out with
remember
that
that.
and he was going at Beanie Siegel, Freeway, Memphis Bleak. He was going at all of them by himself. And I kind of found it weird that nobody else really had Nas's back like that. Like Nature didn't come out with a track backing him up. Prodigy, I know him and Nas had some issues back then at that time, but yeah, nobody really had Nas's back, and Nas was kind of like on his own. So he kind of went in like destroyed everybody and started saying like, "Yo, you niggas not even really from Queens. You guys are from fucking Long Island or some shit." And like he was going in on Nature. Nature, he said move to Brooklyn and shit. Yeah, it was just kind of weird how Nas was just
Yeah.
going in on everybody on that track.
In a way, he kind of clowned them harder than he clowned Jay Z on Ether.
Yeah, I felt like Nas was like getting a
Yeah,
lot
he
of shit
has.
off his chest during this album. So
Yeah, yeah, two crazy ass diss tracks on the same album.
yeah, you're missing two great songs that you haven't mentioned yet.
Well,
That
you didn't give me the chance to.
or go ahead. Well, you got one more song before I go in and chime in on mine.
Another good one, another fucking incredible one. I actually just listened to right before we got on. What goes around?
Yeah, The Poison.
What goes around comes around, my nigga. And what goes up, it must come down, my nigga. Yeah, he fucking kills it. That hook is nasty.
And he talks about the poison, how the doctors inject you with the poison. Like just he just goes in on that track. That's a dope track with a lot of meaning, a lot of depth to it. So yeah, definitely a classic. Like I feel like we're talking about every song on here except like the single. Like the single "Got Yourself a Gun" was a decent track, but like I don't even that's like one of the songs that like I skip because I've heard it so many times.
It's good, but I think it was a bad idea to make it a single because when they would play it on BET or MTV, they would have to like edit it instead of "Got Yourself a Gun." It would just be called "Got Yourself." So yeah,
Yeah,
like I'm not a fan of when you make singles out of songs like that where they have to edit it so heavily.
yeah, but it was
It's still a good track. It's still a good track, but it's not fucking with those other tracks we mentioned.
yeah. And then the song that I love, I don't know, man. This song I can't believe you haven't mentioned this, but "You're the Man." That's one of the top five greatest Nas songs ever. I don't know if you listened to that song
Really?
recently. "You're the
Really?
Man."
Ever? It's good. It's good. Don't get me wrong, but ever?
So you gotta listen to that song again. Listen to what he's saying in that song.
You're the Man's a dope track. Don't get me wrong, but top five songs of his ever. That's covering a lot of ground,
Let me
bro.
rephrase. Let me top one of my like top five favorite Nas tracks. I just love that song, and
Okay, okay.
let me rephrase that. And I like how Freddie Gibbs just redid that song recently. He did a remix, not a remix, but he did a new track on that same beat. So you should definitely check that out. It's a pretty dope. I like what he did with that track as well. So, but yeah, I would feel like "You're the Man" is one of my favorite Nas tracks. You could argue with me if you want, but that's definitely up there. It's a dope track on a lot of levels. And yeah, I know you might not like. I know you might not think the same way, but I feel like it's one of his best.
Okay, fair enough. And it's just too bad they took out that Braveheart party track with Mary J. Blige. It's too bad they took it off the album for whatever reason.
I'm glad they did. That song was whack. That was probably the wackest song on there.
Mm, I,
It
I would
didn't
say
go with the rest of
maybe
the album though. It didn't like. I felt like I was a forced like, oh, we need a party track. Let's throw this in there. But I felt like it was forced. I felt like it wasn't. It doesn't go with the rest of the album.
it was fine, but if I had to pick the worst song on the album, I would say maybe Every Ghetto.
I feel like every ghetto has. I liked Heavy Ghetto though. I thought it was okay.
It was cool, but like it wasn't really as strong as those other tracks you mentioned. Like that
No, that's why I was. That's why I was towards the end, anyways. But
and Smoking, I'm kind of mixed on. I like the production on Smoking, but as a song, I'm a little bit mixed on.
I liked it when it first came out. But I don't know. It's all right. It's cool. I
Yeah,
had
I
liked it a lot
remember.
more when I
Yeah,
was
I
younger. But
remember.
now, as I got older, I haven't like. I didn't. I don't, it didn't age as well with me.
Yeah, yeah, I remember. I remember back then you said it was one of your favorite songs on the album, but I guess things change.
Yeah, things change. People change, and yeah,
Yeah, but this was definitely Nas's comeback album. He had a lot to prove, and he far surpassed anybody's expectations.
yeah, definitely.
If you had any doubt about how great Nas was or how incredible Nas was, those doubts were put to bed real fast.
Yeah,
Because
definitely solidified him in the game, and if, who knows where he would be if that album didn't come out.
I kind of credit this album for like as far as like when I was a teenager. I would say that's one of the albums that like really captures my high school years. That album like from that period, that's like one of those albums that really stands out from like those specific years for me at least.
Yeah, and I remember this album because this was my freshman year in college, so I remember this album. This was around the winter time when this came out, and yeah, it definitely brings back to that time.
It's funny, one of my friends from work I was talking to, he said this is the first album he ever bought with his own money when he was 11 years old.
Wow.
We have a lot of good talks all the time about hip hop, and he's a big fan of the podcast. Shout out to Demetrius. He actually really wants to be on the show.
Oh, shouts out to him. Yeah, tell him we could work something out if you want to be a guest. So yeah, we'll talk offline.
He listens to episodes and he just says to himself, like, damn, I want to be on this so bad. I really want to get into this discussion. I really want to get into this talk you guys are having. Yeah, he loves it.
All right, shout out to him. Well, yeah, we definitely link up offline and try to work something out.
Yeah, definitely. But let's switch gears. That same week that Stillmatic was released on December 21st, 2001, we had the release of Method Man and Redman's film, How High. And I remember going to see this movie the night it came out in theaters and the theater being super packed and just everybody laughing their ass off in every scene from start to finish. And I'll say this, it's not the best movie artistically from start to finish. I'll never say that. But even 22 years later, I can still go back and watch that movie and enjoy it, be entertained by it. And just that experience alone of watching it in the theater that night was fucking great. And that's like one of the reasons why I like going to the movies is because of experiences like that. I like the characters a lot in the movie, especially Method Man and Redman being two of them. But also I like Mike Epps' character as the pimp who would like use the powder and smack people in the face with it, or like smack women in the face with it. Yo, he was hilarious. I never nada hit a bitch in my life. I never nada hit a bitch.
Yeah, that How High movie was definitely a classic movie, and like I said before, man, some of these movies it's not about if it's a great movie or not. It's more about like the memories and the nostalgia that you have, or like the a point of a part of your life when that movie came out, and or who you were watching with. Those are the kind of things that make you love a movie or or love an album. And yeah, I definitely remember that time when this movie came out, and yeah, it's still funny to this day, and it led on to did the Red and Meth album come out before or after
The
this
first
movie?
Blackout came out 2 years before this. The songs were in the fucking movie.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah, they did like a remix or whatever. I Get So High or something
Nah,
like that.
they did How High Part 2, which was dope actually. How I get so high.
Yeah, yeah,
The
that's what I
Tony
was thinking
Braxton
about.
sample. The Tony Braxton sample.
The original one, the one when the Red and Meth had the video. I think it was like in 95, 96 when that
95,
came
yeah,
out. That was
95.
that's one of my favorite hip hop tracks of all time.
Hip hop tracks, you said?
I mean, that's one of my favorite hip hop tracks of all time. Like that Red and Meth, How High. That song, I was listening to it the other day, man. That song is a classic and it's a banger. And that video was dope as well. That's when they were like the kind of like the Cheech and Chong. But yeah, man.
Yeah, the original How High was dope. Part 2 was also good. I'm not gonna say it's better, but it's also good. Hell, the whole soundtrack was dope. That song Round and Round was also from it.
Oh yeah, that R&B song with I mean not DMX. Method Man was on.
Yeah, really don't know what you came here for. Round and round we go. He also had a song on the soundtrack, I think, with Limp Bizkit also, which is also a good track.
Yeah, it was pretty dope, man. That How High movie, the soundtrack was dope, and Red and Meth were on fire at that time.
They had good chemistry not only with music but also even on screen. I thought their characters on screen and them on screen, yo, they were good.
Yeah, and the only thing I didn't like that they just waited so long. I think for like the sequel. I know they had some issues, kind of
Ah,
like with the Friday, and then I know they came out with a sequel, which I think went like straight to MTV and it flopped horribly. But yeah, I feel like they should have struck when the iron was hot and came out with a sequel like a couple years after, maybe like when the Blackout 2 album came out or something like that to make it make sense.
ah.
But well, you think they should have just kept it to one?
I'm kind of been on that tip the last few years because in a lot of the cases when they make these sequels, it's always just such a letdown and it's like such a far cry from what the first one is.
True, true.
Because even the Fridays, the second Friday was cool, but the third Friday, bro, the third Friday. I mean, look, we got Terry Crews and Cat Williams from it, but I can't stand the third Friday, which is actually also a Christmas
And
movie.
somebody else was in it. Ricky Smiley was in that movie too, The Third Friday.
Yeah, but I'm not a fan of it. So, like, yeah, if it was gonna come to that, if they were gonna make another How High and it was gonna be something like that, I'm good. I'm good.
I hear you. I'll get you on that. But yeah, definitely a classic movie nonetheless, and a lot of funny parts in it. A lot
Like
of shit that I
the
used to say.
like the part with Method Man and Redman are in class, and like they have that one white dude who's like their roommate or whatever, and then like when he
Yeah,
stands up, they kind of say shit, and the teacher thinks it's the white kid, and the white kid's like, no, 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 I didn't say that, and then Method Man and Redman are like whispering, saying, "Sir, with all due respect, suck my dick," and then everybody thinks it's the white kid saying it, and it's not really
yeah,
him. And then he
yeah. I
runs
remember
away,
that scene. That was funny
and
as
then he
fuck.
runs away, and then Method Man whispers, "This would have never happened if I were black."
Yeah, that was funny. Yeah, that one was classic. And another part that I liked as well was I think they were having tryouts for the lacrosse team or
Oh shit,
something,
yeah, Redman.
and then that white boy was like, "You're not what's up G what's up J Rock or something like that. You're not a baller J Rock or something like that." Yeah, that show was hilarious, man. I gotta watch that movie,
Yeah,
man. It's been a while.
Redman was like mad out of shape. He was like smoking while he was doing the push-ups and the exercises, and he could like barely get through it. And then like he paid somebody to drive him to the finish
Yeah,
line.
wasn't Mike Epps in the movie
Yeah,
too? Wasn't he the
I
pimp?
just mentioned him earlier. Yeah,
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 yeah, he was.
yeah. Mike Pitt
Oh yeah, he
with
did. He did.
the fucking powder he would use to smack women with. He's like saying,
Yeah.
"I've been
What?
big pimping since big pimping since big pimping since big pimping."
Yeah, where's my powder? Yeah, that show was funny, man.
But you don't know nothing about that because you came from a family of assistant pimps.
Yeah, it was definitely a good movie, man. So a lot of funny.
I never nada hit a bitch. Also, Essence Atkins was in it from Smart Guy. She was Redman's girl. And then Lark Voorhees from Saved by the
Yeah,
Bell.
she was
She
in
was
it.
also in it. She was Method Man's girl. They also added a lot to it. And the Dean was funny too. The Dean who was always trying to fuck
Oh
with
yeah, yeah, he
them.
was funny. He's been in a lot of other movies too. And shows.
Yeah, he's been in a lot of
Yeah.
shit. And that Boo that clothing line they had called Boo it was
Oh
called Buy
yeah,
Us, Fuck You.
yeah. To make fun of Fubu. Yeah, it was a lot. Yeah, there's a lot of funny shit in the movie, man. And then when men and
Yeah,
Meth
I mean,
first meet each other, when one has weed and the other has papers, and then they're like,
oh, he's
"Yo,
like saying you got a blunt,
I
you
got
got
papers.
weed,
I got papers. Let's go." Nah, it was a dope classic movie, man.
and it looked like it would be a fun movie to make. Like just from like the bloopers and stuff. Like doing a movie like that looked like it would be fun to do.
Yeah, it looks like they had a lot of good time.
Yeah, I fucks with that movie heavy. Like I said, it's not an artistic masterpiece from that standpoint, but it's fun, and sometimes that's more important.
Yeah, but shouts out to them. Everybody was involved.
Yeah, shout out to Method Man and Redman. And also, one last anniversary we'll get into, as this past week marked the 16-year anniversary of the release of Lupe Fiasco's The Cool, his second album, and to this date, the best album and best body of work he has ever put out. And it's funny, I saw something online that said that Lupe was J. Cole and Kendrick before J. Cole and Kendrick. And looking back at it now, there's definitely a lot of weight to that, especially from listening to this album. King Khan, what were your memories of listening to this album back then in '07? Your early memories of it, and what do you think of it compared to Food and Liquor?
Food and Liquor was dope. I felt like this was, I was like you said, this was Lupe's, I would say, best album, and he had a lot of tracks on here. He had probably his biggest single on here, "Superstar," which was one of my favorite tracks, and we even put it on one of the Tri City mixtapes when we were dropping mixtapes back then. So I love Lupe during that time, '06, '07. And I was feeling what was the song on there? Go Go Gadget Flow was on there. That was a pretty dope track where he was switching his flow up. I love Paris and Tokyo. That was a dope little chill laid back track, which was pretty dope. Yeah, so this was just a great Lupe album. I liked it. I just feel like after these two albums, he kind of like went away for like a few years and didn't drop another album for like 4 years after that, which was Lasers. And I don't know, man. He was really hot at that time in '06, '07. Everybody knew Kick Push, the song, and he had did the Kanye feature on Touch the Sky, which he murdered. And then he came out with this album, and Superstar was a really big track, one of the biggest tracks of that year. And I feel like, I don't know, man, he just lost momentum and didn't drop anything for such a long time. And I feel like his career hasn't recovered since then. Like he's never been as big as he was when this album dropped.
I know we talked about this before. The reason why he waited so long to come out with the third album was because he was going through shit with the labels because they wanted him to sign a 360 deal, and because he refused to sign it, they like shelved the album
Oh
and
yeah,
started
yeah.
fucking with him and all that jazz. But when Lasers eventually did come out, the Show Goes On track was mad popular, and also that track he had with Trey Songz, that Girl I Want You to Know track, that song was a hit too.
There were hits. There were hits, but they weren't to the level of the first two albums. Nothing ever touched those first two albums by him.
Nah, Lasers was still a solid album though. I'm not saying it's as good as the first two, but it was still a fun album regardless. And those songs commercially, they were successful. Like even if it wasn't as good as the first two, they were still hits and still successful regardless.
Yeah, it was still dope in its own right. But just I don't know. I just felt like I know he's going through label issues, and that happens. But he just lost a lot of momentum and a lot of steam. And like sometimes it's not guaranteed. Like yeah, you can come. You're not. It's not like a Nas where Nas can drop. Can disappear for a few years, come back with an album, and everybody's gravitating towards him again. I feel like he didn't reach that level yet for him to to go away for 4 years and not drop an album. And especially when he was at the height, when he was in at '06 '07. Like I felt like they kind of dropped the ball, him and his team, and whatever was going on, they dropped the ball on him.
Yeah, because he's still dope. I still like him. I mean, I don't like his newer albums as much, but it kind of is a shame that people don't really talk about him as one of those greats because he really is one of them. Yeah, it is kind of sad that he doesn't get that same respect and kind of people don't really talk about him the way they should talk about him. Regardless, he's still one of the best to have come out in the last 20 years. He made two incredible albums, with this one being the most incredible. There's like barely any tracks that you could really skip through this whole album, from Paris, Tokyo, like you mentioned, Hip Hop Saved My Life, which is actually about Slim Thug.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Yeah, that was another good one.
Also,
Yeah, yeah, that was a dope track too.
also Dumb It Down, fucking Dumb It Down. Bro.
Oh yeah, no, that album is a classic. Can't argue with that. My only issue is that, like I said, he just took too long between like the first couple albums and then his third album.
Yeah.
Like that's what messed up his career.
Yeah, it happens, but also another track on this album that gives me goosebumps, Streets on Fire.
Yeah, he was at a really high level at that time. He had the Kanye co-sign, was Kanye is one of the biggest artists, and then Jay-Z co-signed him and even jumped on one of his tracks on the first album. So, and he even did work with Pharrell. Like he was in there where he needed to be. Any artist would have taken those kind of looks, those kind of cosigns at that time, it would have took off. But like I don't know, man. For one thing, whatever happened, it just didn't pop. His career didn't pop off like it should have. Like he had everything laid out for him and set for him.
Yeah, I told you, bro. It's probably politics. People were probably the labels were probably fucking with them, and that's a big reason probably why things kind of turned out the way they did. And also, I remember he was
Yeah.
getting controversial with like some of his political views, where he was like super vocal about it. Like I think one time he didn't want to perform at Obama's inauguration, which actually made sense to me because if you listen to his music, like he called out Obama a couple times, so that kind of made sense to me. But he was saying some other stuff in the years after that kind of like threw me off a little bit. That was kind of like too conspiracy theory ish.
Yeah, he's too like he was too woke. He was those kind of people. Like, I
Yeah,
understand you want to be woke, but there's a level of getting too woke and too much of a conspiracy theorist about everything. Like it gets out of control.
yeah, it could definitely happen. I've been through it myself. Yeah, it could definitely happen. But regardless, he still gave us a great gift with this whole album, and I'm actually gonna listen to it later today when we finish recording. Yeah, just such a great body of work, and one of the reasons, like I said, just like Stillmatic earlier, one of the reasons why I love hip hop, and even still in those later years, like in the late 2000s, it was starting to change. It's albums like that that kind of still kept me interested and still kept me listening to hip hop, even in those years when it wasn't the same. So shout out to Lupe
Yeah,
for this classic album.
yeah, definitely a classic. Definitely a classic.
All right, so King Kong, before we get out of here, tell some people of some of the new releases they have to look forward to coming out.
Yeah, with the end of the year, there's not really a lot going on. We got a couple new releases, but I was expected to be kind of quiet at least until like the middle of January after the holidays. When I think Benny the Butcher is supposed to drop his album towards the end of January, so they'll be on the lookout for that. But as far as this week and to listen to over the Christmas break and also into the New Year, we got Bun B and Static Selecta. They came out with a album slash mixtape, if you want to call it, but there's not really mixtapes these days. But they came out with a collaboration album called Traumatic 3, where they recorded this album within 24 hours and they recorded the process and then actually released it earlier this week. So definitely check out Bun B. He's a dope a classic artist from the South, part of UGK, and he's been doing his own thing since Pimp C passed away years ago. He's still been out here dropping music, and doing his thing and keeping his name out there. And Static Selecta is one of the dope DJs slash producers that we have in the game. He's been around for a minute, dropped his own collaboration albums and produced a lot of dope records for like Joey Badass, Terminology, a lot of dope artists that we know and come to love over the years. Quali, so definitely check that out. We also have Conway the Machine. He's dropped like mad albums this year, but he dropped another collaboration album with 1-2, who was a producer. So they put out Palermo EP, which is a dope album with some bars that you may want to check out. And then finally we have WizKid. So if you're into Afro beats, WizKid, who's been dropping consistent music over the last few years. Him and Burna Boy, but he came back out with a new EP called S2, which is pretty dope. Has 4 tracks on there, so definitely get you in the right vibe if you're into the Afro beats and into that kind of vibe and that music. So definitely a couple of things to check out, but looking forward to the new year and what it has for us, what new music it brings.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too. A new year, a lot of new music to look forward to, a lot of great concerts and music festivals to also explore. I'm going to be looking forward to doing a lot of that in the next 12 months. And I've really enjoyed doing this podcast with you the last few months for this first season. It's been mad dope. It's been mad great catching up on hip hop, old school and new school. And I'm looking forward to seeing what we put together for season 2 because it's going to be even more popping than it is right now.
Yeah, definitely appreciate everybody listening to us over the last 12 episodes. If you guys have any feedback, any topics that you like for us, or any guest out, if you'd like to be a guest on our show, feel free to hit us up on social media or reach out to us. So we're more than happy to chop it up with you and see what we can do to try to make this podcast the best that it can be.
Definitely, we're going to be here for a long time to come, talking to you guys about hip hop, what we love about it, what we don't love about it, what we'd like to see change. And hope you guys enjoy the ride because we've been enjoying it, and it's going to get even better as the weeks and months go by. So hope you guys have a good Christmas. Hope you guys have a good New Year's. Hope you guys have good vibes around you. Enjoy yourselves and as happy as you can be. And for King Khan, this is Conscious Kurt with another edition of the Shifting the Culture podcast, our last one for 2023. Take care, guys. Have a good one. Have a good holiday. And whether you're an old school head or a new school head, always respect the culture. Happy New Year, guys.
Peace. Happy holidays and happy new year.
Take care.